Hello, people. Saturday morning here in Florida. It's not hot as hell yet. I finished a book 2 days ago. The Swiss, the Gold, and the Dead. Subtitled How Swiss Bankers Helped Finance the Nazi War Machine. The author is Jean Ziegler. Jean or Jean, I don't know. The author of this book has an axe to grind. He is, Switzerland is his home country. He doesn't hate Switzerland, but he hates the fact that there's kind of an official denial, an official and an unofficial denial of Switzerland's behavior in World War II. And Switzerland's kind of a weird country. I don't know that much about it, but he explained a little bit in the book how there's kind of like 4 different Switzerlands. It's a confederation of these 4 different peoples. And Switzerland is the second richest country on earth because of the bankers. And I've never been a banker. I've never been involved in financial chicanery, but there's a lot of that in you, and some of it was a little bit hard for me to understand. But basically, Switzerland's national excuse for their behavior in World War II is that they were surrounded by the Nazis and they had no choice but to do as they did and help the Nazis. Neutrality is also their national excuse. Sweden was kind of the same way. Sweden was never invaded by Germany because the Germans got shit from Sweden. They got their iron ore and they got a whole lot of stuff from Switzerland. This was a pretty good book. It took me, I think, less than a week to read it. 279 pages, published in 1997. And my first note there says gnomes. And he refers to the bankers several times in the book. He refers to them as gnomes. And this is why. Page 18, under the title of Hubris. Switzerland escaped World War II by virtue of shrewd, active, organized complicity with the Third Reich. From 1940 to 1945, the Swiss economy was largely integrated into the Greater German Economic Area. The gnomes of Zurich, Basel, and Bern were Hitler's fences and creditors. What exactly are gnomes? The dictionary definition: a race of diminutive spirits reputed to inhabit the interior of the earth and to be the guardians of its treasures. The last 5 words are peculiarly apt. I don't know, I thought it was funny. He didn't, not every time he spoke about the bankers did he use the word gnomes, but once every 20 pages or so he calls them gnomes. I thought it was funny. First 2 paragraphs, page 134. They cover everything here. There's some stuff that I think is a bit gratuitous when speaking about concentration camps and rounding up of Jewish people, which Switzerland did not. They didn't actively engage in this, but they did deny Jewish people access to the country. They stopped them at the border. Not that this makes it any better, but many other countries did the same thing by setting limits on how many Jews could immigrate. First 2 paragraphs. The Swiss munitions industry possessed another advantage. Being on neutral territory, its factories escaped Allied bombing. The largest private arms manufacturing company in the country, and one of the largest in the world, was owned by Emil Brühl, the son of German immigrants from Württemberg, most of whose workshops were situated in Zurich. His business transactions with the Third Reich proved gratifyingly profitable. Between 1939 and 1945, his declared income rose from 6.8 to 56 million Swiss francs, and his personal assets after tax from 8.5 to 170 million. The Germans bought munitions from Switzerland all throughout the war and paid for that with looted gold. And I still don't really understand the looted gold thing, how they laundered that. But the Germans, whenever they moved into a country, whenever they took over a country, went straight to the banks, took all the gold. They also ended up with a hell of a lot of gold that they melted down from Jewish people, from teeth, from rings, jewelry, and Switzerland laundered it all. They didn't care where it came from. A lot of times the Germans would go to the ridiculous precaution of melting it down and stamping it with a pre-war stamp. And they sent it into Switzerland. The Swiss paid them with Swiss francs. Then the Germans could use these Swiss francs to buy raw materials on the international market because nobody would accept German money. And that's how they got around all the sanctions. There was a 1946 conference in Washington where the Allies were represented. The Russians did not get involved, and the Swiss sent a team of bankers to try to negotiate how this money was going to go back to who it belonged to. The Swiss out-negotiated all the whole other teams, and they arrived at a lump sum to pay into these funds. It's a crazy book. I really enjoyed it. I would recommend it. My last note is UBS, which is one of the big Swiss banks. And I have a tiny little retirement fund from Owens Corning. I worked for Owens Corning for 27 years. And it doesn't amount to much. It's like $350 a month. But it is handled by UBS. So I haven't, they're using melted down dental gold to ensure my retirement, which is kind of weird. Thanks for watching.